let's read book of Hebrews chapter 4, verse 13. Let's read together. Ready, begin. Nothing in all creation is hidden from God's sight. Everything is uncovered and laid bare before the eyes of him to whom we must give account. So, today's message is about not hiding our shame. So, if you could go to the next one. That's the movie, right? I'm like, you look at it and you're like, oh my God, what is this? But my sermon is based on, they have like really good songs, the hit songs right now. Actually, one of the songs is the number one song in the United States, the Billboard charts. But the one song that I'm basing my sermon on today is What It Sounds Like. So basically the music is about not hiding who you are. Because one of the main characters, she's half demon, half human, and so she was hiding from her friends who are hunting demons, right? Basically tokebi in Korean. So they're fighting these evil demons, but yeah, she was part demon, so she was hiding. So she was ashamed of who she was, and that got her into a lot of trouble. So we have to kind of understand, number one, what causes shame. Well, shame, there are shames of circumstances, right? There are different categories why we feel shame. Number one is shame of circumstance. So some are born in poverty, and some will shame the poor people for their circumstances. Oh, you're poor? Oh, you're from ghetto? Things like that. And people shame that, right? Like, for example, in book of Luke, chapter 16, verse 19 through 31, there's a story of poor rich man and Lazarus. If you guys know that story, right? There was a rich man who was eating, and there's poor man Lazarus eating the scraps off the ground that rich man was eating, right? So whatever they dropped, he would be there and he would eat that scraps. And in the story Jesus told, the rich man goes to hell, and then he looked up, there was Lazarus, the poor man, up into heaven. That's the story. So we tend to shame the poor. Even though really poor people, when you're born in the poor or poverty situation, it's not your fault. It's not like, hey, put me in a poor situation. That's not what we do. But we still put them in a shame category. Some are born disabled, and some people are shamed for their disability, right? Oh, especially in Korean, Asian in general, I think it's Asian culture itself. Disability is considered shame, right? So they try to hide it. For the longest time in Korea, they didn't have disability ramps or anything like that. So people with disability couldn't go out, especially with the wheelchair, because they can't go outside of their house because, first of all, the roads are not made for them to do the wheelchair. And the sidewalks, here in the United States, there's a dip, right? So where literally the wheelchair could go up the ramp, that's the small slope. In Korea, they didn't have that. So they couldn't go up on the sidewalks because they couldn't go up in that sidewalk by themselves. Especially people with blindness, they couldn't go at all because nobody would help them. They would like try to avoid the people with blindness because they thought somehow it's going to affect them or somehow, right? So disability was considered shame, right? If you look at book of Luke, chapter 9, it talks about a story of a blind man. And Jesus, as soon as Jesus talks to this blind man, he asks his disciples, what do you think of this blind man? And actually, the disciples asked Jesus, hey, Jesus, is the blind man is blind because of his sin or his parents' sin? Meaning they're shaming either the guy or the parents, shaming the parents for giving birth to someone with disability. And so as society, we shame the people in their certain circumstances. There's a shame from one's action that leads to negative consequences. So if you break the law and you go to jail, you are definitely shamed, right? In olden days in United States and Europe, there was a shame culture where if you get caught stealing, that little wooden thing with the two hands and your neck falls right in there, you were displayed for all people to see what a shameful action you have done, right? In Arab culture, tradition is that if you get caught stealing, what do? They cut your hand off to mark the shame. Like, whoa, yeah, you see, your negative action causes negative consequences. We could see that type of kind of like a shame moment in Bible when Peter was confessing to Jesus that he will never betray Jesus, right? But what happens? He betrayed him how many times? 3 times, right? Look at our action leads to our shame sometimes. Look at Adam and Eve. What did they do? They ate the fruit, right, of good and evil, knowledge of good and evil. As soon as they did, they were ashamed. So they hid themselves, right? As soon as they were, oh my God, what did I do? And they were hiding from God because they were ashamed of their action. There's a shame of social norms. When you break the law, you are shunned, you are shamed for misbehavior. When you go outside of a social norm, that will lead to shame on you. Like for example, if you go out public naked, right, it's considered shame. Like, aren't you ashamed of yourself? Like, what are you doing, right? Or not having right type of clothes in a certain situation, right? You can't. Let's say you come to church in bikini and thongs. That will be considered shame. Like, what are you doing? That is not the proper clothes for this type of social situation. It's totally normal at a beach or at a pool, right? You're not ashamed of that. Matter of fact, you're revered. Oh, wow, you have a good body, whatever. But at church, no, right? There's a social norms. There are certain things that we consider, hey, you need to dress a certain way, you need to act a certain way in a certain situation. Like, for example, you wouldn't go to a funeral and start partying. Yeah, what's up? You don't do that, right? It's a somber moment. It's like, oh, right? But it's a different thing for different culture. In African culture, funerals are considered like they have great parties that people are dancing and they're eating. Matter of fact, they put the coffin on their shoulders and they dance as they go to the grave, right? That's how they view, right? So it's depending on a social norm, what society says okay and what society says not okay. So we feel shamed if you go outside of that. So we get shame from authority figures. So some parents will teach children shame, but they will go overboard to the point where children feel shamed about themselves. So if you overdo correction, what ends up happening is they feel shamed about themselves. They feel bad who they are. They lose their confidence. They lose their ability to stand up for themselves. And so it's parents' job to correct and to teach their children, but if you overdo it and if you abuse that power, children will lose ability to feel good about themselves or have a self-confidence that needs to go out into the world. So it's up to, there are a lot of cases where parents abuse that, and a lot of the children they grow up and they find themselves very ashamed of themselves. And that leads to all kinds of things, all kinds of addiction, drug abuse, to food addiction and things like that. It gets messy. Through abuse, we feel shame and worth will decrease. Another thing is abandonment or rejection of our authority figure. So if parents get divorced, for example, that's the children who goes through that divorce will feel abandonment or rejection. So because of that, they feel shamed. And the last thing is shame through sin, where God's law and rules dictate to us that we are to be shamed because of our sin, right? If you sin, that is not something for you to be proud of. Oh yeah, look, I stole it. Oh yeah, we don't celebrate stealing. We don't celebrate murder. We don't celebrate going out there and punching people in the face. We don't do that, right? Because that's because of God's law says that is not okay. That is not okay. Sinful nature causes us to bring shame unto our heart through the sinful thoughts and actions, right? Lusting after someone or lusting after things, lusting after the world causes us shame because Spirit says, hey, that's not what you're supposed to go after. So then the question is, why do we hide from God and others? Why do we, as soon as we feel shame, why do we hide, right? Why do we hide that? It's if you look at little kids, like 4 or 5 year olds, when you look at them, it's funny, right? What some of the things they're doing, they think they're like, oh, smart, right? They think, they're so smart, and they're like fooling everybody. But you look at them and like, oh my God, what are they doing, right? You could see right through that, right? But they're in their heart, they're like, oh, I'm being sneaky, and as soon as they get caught, they're like, right? Let's say they were taking things that are like a cookie in a jar, and they take it. As soon as the parents say, "What are you doing?" Nothing. Nothing. What are you eating? Nothing. I'm not really American, right? It's cute, but at the same time, they're hiding. They're hiding their shame. They know they did something wrong. So the main factor for us to hide from God is shame. The shame is the factor. So shame causes us to feel, number one, intense fear or disconnection. So this is more of a psychology, but intense fear. When you feel shame, the first thing you feel is intense fear or intense fear of disconnection. Okay, so let me give you an example. Let's say a kid goes to take the cookie off the cookie jar, even though they told them not to eat. So they took the cookie. As soon as they get caught, they feel like, my mom or my dad is going to hate me because of what I've done. So that they feel automatic disconnection with their parents. The second thing they feel is a feeling of worthlessness. So like, oh boy, now I got caught. I done something wrong now. I'm going to have to hide it because I don't want to feel worthless. Right? I'm ashamed. So I don't want to feel, now I feel worthless to whoever you're hiding from. And then the third thing that you feel is isolation. You feel isolated. You feel like you're the only one who's going to you're going through this. And because of the shame and the guilt that you're feeling inside, and it's because you tend to hide because you feel isolation. You want to hide this thing so that nobody could see, right? And so soon as people say, oh, how are you doing? Oh, I'm okay. Even though you're like dying inside. You put on a face. You put on a front saying, oh, I'm okay. I feel fine. I'm happy. You smile. Even though you're inside, you're dying. You're miserable. We hide that because of that reason. Because we feel shamed of our feeling of isolation. We fear the negative consequences. The last thing we feel is that we fear what would happen when we show our shame to the world or people that we love. And so those four things are the main reasons why we hide, because of the shame. Shame will make us hide so that we can feel, number one, so that we can maintain facade. Facade means to hide. Hide our so basically the facade comes from the word that comes from hiding the mistakes of the building. So the building has a big chip on it, so you put facade to kind of like paint over it, right? Or looks good even though inside it's rotting and it's crumbling. So we want to maintain our facade or illusion that you're projecting. Oh, I'm always happy. So this is what's really getting to a lot of the young people nowadays, especially the teenagers, because of the social media. Social media is like a facade. They're like, oh, look at me, how happy I am. Oh, I'm enjoying this good time. Oh, look at all the great food I'm eating. You know what that tells people like me who knows what's going on? You know what that tells me? They're seeking validation. They're seeking validation that they're doing great. What that really even tells me even further is that I'm feeling empty and hollow inside. I need to feel worth something. And so they continuously take pictures of themselves or picture of what they're doing. They're creating this mirage of, oh, I'm doing so good. I'm doing so well. This is so good. My life is grand. Right? Not only teenagers, even like moms getting into it, right? Moms taking pictures of the children. Hey, children, come here, do this. And then they take a picture and like, oh, look how cute our children are, and look how wonderful our family is, even though their family is falling apart. In the social media realm, there are people looking at them going, oh, that family is so cool. They're going on trips. They're going on, they're doing all this wonderful stuff. Oh, their life must be great. But when you look inside, behind the curtain, behind the mask, what's there? It's nothing. Nothing is there. And so, and that's kind of like a sad part of who we are and how we are doing today. Because we hide our shame because we want to maintain that illusion, maintain that lie. We want to hide our shame because we want to project false sense of security. We want to feel good about ourselves. We want to feel good about who we are, right? We kind of like fooling ourselves by projecting all these wonderful things that we're doing. We're hiding our shame of, oh, we're poor, or we're not doing great. Our family is falling apart. My life is falling apart. And I'm ashamed of what I'm doing privately. Whatever you're doing or ashamed of, you're hiding it because you want to make sure that your shame doesn't get exposed. To avoid any situation, we hide to avoid situation that is happening that you are uncomfortable or afraid of. So we tend to hide things because we're afraid of losing what we are maintaining, even though you're building it on a house. It's like building a house on the sand. Eventually, it's going to crumble, and it's going to go away. It's going to break and fall apart. But yeah, we desperately hold on to this facade, right? You hold on to this image of, I'm doing great. Oh, I'm doing fine. But even though we're not. We feel fear and rejection if we reveal that who we are, and feel vulnerable when we tend to reveal our shame. So we hide. We hide it. So we don't feel the shame. So we don't feel the rejection. So we don't feel that somehow I'm going to feel all these fear inside of my heart. Hiding gives us a short temporary relief from our shame and fear, but it brings us even worse consequences down the line. So what do we have to do? Just like the movie, the song says what it feels like. That movie, that the song says, reveal. It says reveal it. Don't be ashamed of who you are. And we shouldn't be ashamed of our identity. We're children of God. We can't be ashamed of ourselves. We can't be bogged down by the sins that is, ultimately gets us. But yet, ultimately, hiding only gets further away from God. That's the thing, right? When Adam and Eve done something wrong and they hid themselves, they were hiding, not only hiding from God, but they're putting themselves further away from God. And that's what happens when you start hiding. And I'm telling you, don't hide. Just be open, and accept who you are. Sometimes, we're not the greatest, we're not the best, we're not the fastest, we're not the strongest, we're not the thinnest or most muscled, whatever. We're not the most beautiful or handsome. It's okay. Whatever your circumstance is now, it doesn't mean that's who we are as a person. We need to overcome that by revealing it and accept yourself. And know that I'm not who I am now, but I'm going to be better through God. That's how we need to understand ourselves to be. Because we were meant to be better. We were meant to be great. We meant to be great in the presence of God. We're supposed to be great with God. So even if you're ashamed of yourselves, whatever's happening now to you, don't let that get you. But instead reveal to people and say, hey, I need your prayer. I need your help. Or I need to work on with God. With God, anything is possible. And so we move forward, not backwards. When you're hiding, you're moving backwards. When you're hiding things from God, or you're hiding from society, you're hiding from your family, you're hiding from the loved ones, the things that you keep inside, that's going to hurt you later down the line. So don't hide it. Let it go. Reveal it. The mistakes and the things that you have done that you're not proud of. It's okay. Nobody's perfect. And in the presence of God, we're all acceptable. Because we're children of God. Once you have Jesus in your heart, you can't go wrong. Because you have God with you. Stop hiding. But reveal. Reveal so that God could heal the places that needs to be revealed. And that's how we get better. Let us pray.